There was a calm in the way you sat beside me, like nothing needed to be said. Your presence alone was enough to quiet everything in my head. We watched the night without speaking, just breathing the same air. I didn't realize how safe I felt until you weren't there. It wasn't the silence that hurt the most, it was getting used to it. Learning how to exist again without where you used to fit. I tried to replace the feeling, but nothing felt the same. Not because they were different, but because they didn't know my name the way you did, soft and slow, like you understood parts of me I never showed. Stay low, you don't need to become who you were before. Some love opens you, then closes the door. Stay low, you don't need to undo what is done. Stay low, you don't need to undo what is done. Some endings exist to help you become someone who I don't see you as a loss anymore. I see you as a change, a moment that shifted something I couldn't rearrange. You didn't break my heart, you revealed it. You showed me it was alive, even when I concealed it. And now when I move through the quiet, I don't feel empty or small. I feel someone who has loved deeply and survived it all. You didn't stay beside me, but you stayed in my truth. You were never my forever, but you were my proof. I still remember the way you said my name like it mattered to you. Not loud, not dramatic, just honest and true. There was something in your eyes that made me feel seen. Not for who I pretended to be, but for who I had been. I didn't have to explain myself, you understood. All the silence I carried, all the misunderstood. We didn't try to promise forever, we didn't pretend. We just lived inside moments without needing an end. I 'cause what we had already changed my heart. Not in a way that left me weak or afraid to try, but in a way that taught me how to say goodbye. You didn't stay in my life, but you stayed in my growth. You helped me become someone more honest, more close. And now when I walk through the night alone, I don't feel lost anymore. I feel someone who found himself through what he lived before. You were never mine to keep, but you were mine to know, and that was enough to help me grow. I didn't know the last time would last. You just smiled and left. No heavy words, no breaking sound, just a quiet theft. You took nothing I could hold, nothing I could see, but something inside me shifted so silently.
I walked home that night alone, under empty light, feeling older than I was, without knowing why.
There was no one left to blame, no wrong, no right, just the truth that some souls don't stay in your life.
I used to think love meant staying, no matter what. Now I know sometimes loving means letting it stop.
Stay low, you don't need to follow what has gone. Some love leaves you stronger, even when it's done. Stay low, you don't need to fill the empty air. Some abscess teach you how to care. I still remember how you saw me before I hid, before I learned to protect everything I did. You didn't try to change me, you didn't demand, you just stood beside me and held my hand. That version of me still exists somewhere inside, not broken, not lost, just changed by the tide. And even now, in quiet moments, I feel it true. I'm not the same person I was with you. to be stoned, because loving you once taught me I'm not alone. There was a night I almost told you everything. All the things I kept inside, but you look so peaceful beside me. I let the moment slide. I didn't wanna change the air between you and me. Sometimes silence holds more truth than words could ever be. Sat there with nothing to prove, nothing to defend. Just two people sharing something that didn't need to end.
I remember how safe it felt, just being near. Like the world
Couldn't reach me.
as long as you were here.
I didn't know how fragile that was, how fast it could fade, how something so real could become just a shape. Stay low, you don't need to relive every part. Some memories live better in the heart. I remember the night we didn't say goodbye. You just stepped out of the car, turned once like you wanted to stay, but didn't know who you were. I watched you walk into the dark until you disappeared. And something inside me understood what I had always feared. Not that you didn't care, not that it wasn't real, but that some people are only meant to show you how to feel. I sat there long after you were gone, engine running low, not ready to accept what's left. There was a softness, the way you existed, that I never questioned. You didn't need to prove anything, you were just present. I didn't realize how much it meant until you were gone. How rare it is to feel understood without holding. Stay low, you don't need to replace what was true. Some love stays alive in everything you do. Stay low, you don't need to explain the pain. Some hearts remember without needing a name.
I stopped searching for closure in places it wasn't meant to be. Some goodbyes happen quietly, so you can finally see. You didn't leave me empty, you left me awake, more honest with myself, more willing to break.
Not into pieces, but into truth, into someone who understands what it means to lose.
And even now, in this quiet life, I carry your life.
Not as someone I need, but as someone who showed me how to feel. Stay low, you don't need to replace what was true. Some love stays alive in everything you do. Stay low, you don't need to explain the pain. Some hearts remember without needing a name. I remember how you used to laugh before you looked away, like part of you was already leaving, even when you stayed. I felt it, but I said nothing. I let it be, because loving you quietly still meant everything to me. We didn't fall apart loudly. No fan, no fight. Just two people slowly fading into separate nights. I kept hoping something would change without asking you to try, because I knew real love doesn't force someone to stay or alive. There are words I never said, still live in me, not heavy, not painful, just unfinished, quietly. Sometimes I replay those moments in my head, not to go back, but to honor what we had. Stay alone. You don't need to fix what time has done. Some stories end when they've just begun. Stay alone. You don't need to carry regret. Some love was real, even when it left. I don't wonder if you miss me like before. I've made peace with what you were. You were never a mistake. You were a part of my way, a moment that helped me grow, even when you didn't stay. And now when I see someone smile the way you used to do, I don't break. I just remember you, not with sadness, not with fear, but with quiet gratitude that you were here. That you were here. I remember the night you told me nothing, nothing, nothing. Just sitting there beside me, letting silence sing. You looked tired but peaceful, like you understood. There's some things don't need saving, even when you could. I wanted to ask you to stay, I wanted to try, but something inside me knew love shouldn't have to beg or cry. So I let the moment pass like falling snow, knowing I would miss it more than you would know, more than you would ever know. There's a space you left behind that never filled. Not broken, not empty, just forever still. Sometimes I wonder who you are now, if you found your way, if someone else now hears the
felt to open my heart. Didn't leave me ruined. You left me awake. You taught me how to love without needing to take. And that's something no ending can never erase. You became a quiet strength I carry through every place. I carry through every place. I carry through every place.
I didn't notice the exact moment you became a memory. There was no clear ending, no final clarity. Just fewer messages, longer space between replies, until your absence settled like truth that never lies. I told myself it was nothing, just life moving on. But deep down I knew something permanent was gone. Not in a tragic way, not in a storm, just in that quiet way where silence becomes the norm. I still remember the warmth of your presence near, how everything felt lighter when you were here. You never had to try, you never had to pretend. You just existed beside me like something without end.
Stay low, you don't need to chase what's past. Some things are beautiful, 'cause they didn't last. Stay low, you don't need to understand the why. Some souls just meet, then say goodbye.
I stopped blaming time, stopped blaming fate. Some love arrives gently, then leaves just as quiet. But it doesn't leave you empty, it leaves you changed. More open, more aware, more rearranged. Now when I think of you, I don't feel pain. I feel something softer, like calm after rain. You were never mine to keep, and I was never yours to hold. We were just two passing lights in the cold. And somehow that was enough to make me see who I was and who I could be. was a version of me who believed you would stay, not forever, not perfectly, but in some quiet way. I didn't need promises, I didn't need dreams, I just needed the feeling of your hand in my hands. We used to say without speaking, washing nothing at all, and somehow in that nothing I felt 10 feet tall. You never tried to warn me, you never tried to control, you just stood beside my chaos and made me feel whole. I didn't know how rare that was, I didn't see how easily life can separate you from me. Stay. You don't need to go back and understand. Some love exists only once in a lifetime span. You don't need to rewrite the end. Some people arrive just to help you mend. I stopped asking where you are now or who you'll become. Some questions don't need answers when everything is done. But sometimes in the quiet stars, I still feel you near, not as a present, but as something sincere. You told me how to open without fear the fall. How night someone see me without hiding at all. And even though we
stop standing at that door. But sometimes when the world is quiet and I'm alone, I feel grateful for what I've known. Not everyone gets to feel something real, even once. Not everyone gets to lose it and still trust. I'm not broken by your absence, I'm awake. You didn't destroy me, you helped remake. And now I move through the night without fear. Not because you're gone, but because you were here. I remember the way you looked at me when nothing was said, like you could hear the thoughts I never let leave my head. We didn't need to fill the silence, it felt complete. Just sitting there together with your hand touching my sleep. I was afraid of how calm it made me, how real it felt, like something in my chest was finally starting to melt. I had spent so long protecting myself from feeling too much. I forgot how powerful it was just to be touched. Now that calm lives somewhere distant, but still alive. In quiet moments when I'm driving with nowhere to arrive. Stay low, you don't have to replace what was true. Some connections only happen once in you. Stay low, you don't have to erase the past to move on. Some love stays with you, even when it's gone. I don't wish things were different anymore. I'd understand. We were never meant to stay forever, just to expand. You showed me parts of myself I couldn't see, not by trying to change me, just by being with me. And even now, in this empty night, I feel whole. Not because you're still here, but because you touched my soul. Some people don't stay in your life, but they stay in your heart. Not as pain,
but as a permanent star. Past the place where we first stayed too long, talking in your car. Neither of us wanted the night to end or go too far. You leaned your head back and closed your eyes like you felt safe there, like the world couldn't reach you as long as I was near. I didn't know how rare that was. I didn't know it then. How something so simple could never happen again. Now the seat beside me stays empty, but it's not cold. It just holds the outline of something I used to hold. Sometimes I still speak out loud without thinking why. Like part of me believes you might still reply. Still, you don't have to hide what you feel. Some absences stay with you because they were real. Stay low, you don't have to force yourself to be strong. Some hearts take longer to understand where they belong. I don't regret the way it ended or began. We were never meant to last forever, just as long as we can. And maybe that was always enough, even now, because I'm not the same person you once knew somehow. We changed something quiet inside me that stayed. Not loud, not broken, just permanently rearranged. And when I drive alone at night, I don't feel alone. I feel the echo of who Now I drive through streets that still remember who we were, and every empty window, and every distant blur. I keep thinking I'll see you somewhere by surprise, standing under the same pale lights, looking in my eyes. But some things don't return to you, they just live inside, in the spaces you don't show, in the places you hide. Stay low, you don't need to understand it all. Some endings don't feel like endings, they just fall. Stay low, you don't need to know what's next. Some healing happens in what you don't expect. I don't blame you, I don't blame myself. We were real, just two souls trying to hold on to what they could feel. And maybe that's enough to carry through the years. Not the loss, not the silence, but the truth we shared. I'm still here, still breathing, still becoming someone new. Not because I forgot you, but because I had to move through. But somewhere in that quiet acceptance, I found peace. Not in getting you back, but in finally letting you leave. was enough to teach me how to feel. And even now, alone in the silence, I'm not afraid. I carry what mattered, not what stayed. I drove past the places we used to know. Same turns, same lights, but nothing felt the way it did on those quiet nights. Your voice wasn't there beside me, just the road, just the weight